Hi, welcome back to the HSP Connection with me, Philippa, and
me, Robbie Leigh.
Yeah, hi. So did you listen to episode 1? What did you think? Hope you liked it. I say episode 1, it will have gone out as episode 90 of the Meeting of Minds podcast, but it's the first in this mini series that Robbie and I are doing together. That's got the subtitle HSP Connection, because we really want to talk in depth about our lived experience of being an HSP. And we really enjoyed doing episode 1, which was sort of a general overview of what HSP is, what being an HSP is all about. So today, we've decided we're going to talk more about the wonderful gifts and the joy that it brings being an HSP, because that's definitely our experience. And yeah, so Robbie's got a list, which is good because I don't. We have talked about this list, but Robbie's in charge of the list. So sorry to sort of hand this straight over, but you've got a list, haven't you?
I do, yeah. We brainstormed some things.
We did.
Yeah, and we've got a list.
We
and
have.
I was the one that wrote it down. So
yeah. So you're kind of in charge of the list. What's first on the list?
Well, first on the list is intuition. So we have an incredible intuition. We get a sense if things are not right, or we get a sense of things about people, or we seem to know things that other people don't know.
We do, don't we? And it took me a while to understand that I do have a deep connection with my intuition. I wasn't sure, but I wasn't sure about lots of things, to be fair, until I've been getting more sure over the last 6 years. But do you, I don't know if you can put it into words, because sometimes it's quite difficult, isn't it? Can you put it into words how you can connect with, and how you might know what your intuition is trying to tell you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have found that I have kind of nurtured that relationship over the years, so it's evolved. But at first, the way it would occur to me is just kind of a note, like a quick knowing. Like maybe I would say verbally I was making a decision, and then something inside would feel like and I'd be like, oh, maybe that's not the right decision. It was kind of that thing.
Yeah.
And for a long time, like, I would notice it. I would then have a conversation with my brain about it and talk myself into doing whatever I wanted to do. And then something would happen and I'd be like, yeah, see, I should have trusted my gut. I should have trusted my gut. And it was years of me saying, oh, I should have trusted my gut. And then I finally started going, okay, how do I trust my gut? How do I do that?
Yes.
And so I started making more space for it. And I would, like I said, my brain would always get involved, and my logic would try to be like, well, blah, blah, blah. And so I started to say, thank you, logic. I appreciate your input, but you're not the only one giving advice here, And so then as I started noticing my intuition, then I started feel like I would feel something in my stomach, or I'd feel something in my chest, or I would see a fully formed picture in my mind. Like, there's different ways that it comes to me, but there is always, it feels instant, and it's just like, whew, something is suddenly this. I know something. It feels like the way I describe it is I have a hit. Something
interesting.
Yeah. How does it occur for you?
Well, yeah, I think I can definitely connect with it if it's a yes or a no, shall I do this, yes or no, sort of thing. And I learned that I have that when, during my therapy, there would be a couple of occasions where she would do something, we'd do something different. And once that she said, okay, so write this, I don't know, should I stay in my job? So stay in the job on one piece of paper and leave the job on another piece of paper, and put them on the floor, and then stand on one. and then stand on the other and notice if you can feel any difference.
Very nice.
And I would definitely feel a like a little, I don't know, it's sort of, I'm not about to throw up, it's not that sort of, but it's just that little nudge, a little, you know, that I learned to understand was a yes. And for me, a no is usually silence.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Usually. So I don't, you know, I only get a yes or I get nothing. And there was also another time on the Counselling Foundation course I was talking about in episode 1, where we all had to make a decision. There was 20 of us, and we had to make a decision which was going to be our tutor. So when the tutors came back in, they said, we want 10 sitting over there and 10 sitting over there. So we had 10 on this side, and there was 9 people over there, and there was one woman who couldn't decide. And you know, she said, oh well, I feel like I've got to go there now. When people were saying, no, you don't have to go there, we've all made this decision, but equally we've got to make a decision together. So if you want to come over here where these 10 are, then we'll have one person will have to decide to go over there. So you make your, oh, I can't make a decision. And I said to her, well, I said, well, go and sit over there and see how that feels, and then come and sit over here and see how this feels. And I just instinctively kind of knew to suggest that to her. I didn't know whether she was going, and anyway, she sat on both and she went, oh no, I want to be over here, which made us 10-10, which was really, but that was quite interesting that somehow I kind of knew to say that, and she did it, and it had a reaction for her. So I think I don't necessarily get fully formed pictures, but I do. It's usually more of a feeling, and I get words, and the words I don't necessarily hear. I feel, I think I've said this. I think I said in the episode with you that it's like I see them. Yeah. But I don't like see the word like, you know, so when I'm coaching with clients, words just come to me. So say the word fear came up. I don't see the word fear, and I don't hear it in my ear either, but I know it's the word fear. So how I must be feeling it. I'm not feeling the fear, but I'm feeling the word fear. Yes. If that, I mean, you know, sorry to anybody who's listening, this makes completely no sense to, but I think there will be people who it makes sense to.
Yes. And this is what, I mean, I actually love that you were explaining that, because this highlights what Willow says to us all the time, which is we're not used to having these conversations. We're not used to trying to describe what actually happens for us. And so it can be hard to find the words and to actually describe it. It's like, I don't know. It just is like, I just know, I just feel it. I don't know.
Exactly. And that's, you know, what's so beautiful about being with other HSPs, because we get that. And so finding community of people who you can have these conversations with, you know, like you and I are here, you know, and, you know, who get it. I mean, and you might have a different experience to me, but you can understand how I can be having this experience, and I can understand how you can be having that experience. And we're just very accepting of it, because that's the language that we have become used to, and the way of being that we've become used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautifully said.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, the intuition is, I mean, it's a great way to be led rather than being led by your head. You know, I know I've said to a few clients over the last 2 years, you're not going to think your way out of this. Right. You know, you're going to feel your way, and it's a little bit like they've never realized that's possible, but that's because we grow up with, I think, you know, the intellect is everything. You know, do well, exam results and all these things, that is everything, whereas actually there's a whole other, you know, feeling, sensing part of us that is actually much more wise.
It's very intelligent. Yes. Yeah. In Dr. Brené Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart, she talks and says, like, we are not thinking beings with feelings.
Yes.
We are emotional beings who think.
Yes. Exactly.
But I absolutely walked through the world for most of my life thinking I was a thinking being,
Yeah.
right? That is what exactly what you said, like in school, right? What is it that we're promoting? It's the thinking brain.
Yes.
It's the training of the thinking brain. And that's important training, but it's not the only intelligence. Like, and emotional intelligence is so important. And that's actually leads us to the next thing that HSPs are really great at. We have a high
Is that
emotional
segues?
intelligence.
Oh, I think you were going to say segues are the really great thing, the thing that HSPs are really good at.
I'm terrible at segues normally, but this one
Well, that one worked brilliantly because I kind of knew that was on the list, and I was thinking, oh, is that going to take us nicely into
emotional intelligence?
Go,
yeah,
Robbie.
high EQ is something that HSPs have.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can read people so well. We communicate very well. We generally know how we're feeling. We know how others are feeling. We can read all of the micro expressions and the body language and the ethers. I don't know how else to say it, right? We just, whatever we're feeling, we're picking up on things, and we're very emotionally intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we don't always get it right.
No, we don't. But we can feel that there's something, right?
We absolutely can feel that there's something. And also, you know, we are, you know, in relationship with other people. And, you know, that doesn't, you know, what I'm saying is, yes, we are, you know, supremely emotionally intelligent, actually. But that also doesn't mean that we've not got other things playing in as well. So it's not like, oh, you know, if you're with an HSP, it's going to be an easy ride because they're going to know it all, because that's actually not what happens. But if you
we are still humans, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to say. We are human beings, and we have all our conditioning that comes with what has happened to us in our life up until now. But if we can allow ourselves to tap into that greatness that we have, that great ability, then it really does become something that stands us in really good stead in our relationships and moving through the world.
Yes.
If we can just really embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of, that one's tied to another of our strengths, which is the ability to read people. I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit last time about, you know, how that impacts your ability to be a mom, and how, you know, just kind of knowing when your son comes home what he needs. And I think about, you know, in the workplace, we're able to walk into a room and know what's going, like, maybe if we don't know exactly, we know that there's something. Like, I can remember walking into meetings and going, oh, there's something not right here. Something is unsettled. There's something in the underneath what is being said, right?
Yes.
We can pick up on the things that aren't being said.
Yes. Yeah. And if actually we felt safe enough to do it, it would be a really useful thing to be able to name that. And to actually say, actually, you know, I can hear what you're all saying, but I am really sensing there is something else underneath here. And I don't think we're going to be able to resolve this until, like, whatever it is that you're talking about, until you've addressed what isn't being spoken about.
It's 100% right.
Yeah. But that has to come with the psychological safety to be able to do that. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are not like that. But that's what it could be. That's how it could be if we could understand that highly sensitives have so much to bring. You know, wouldn't it be amazing if, you know, you were sat around a table and you knew that, I don't know, say there's 10 people, so 2 of them are HSPs, and you all have a conversation, you go, now guys, what are you feeling? What is there anything we've missed, or is there anything you're feeling that we've not taken into consideration? Because I know that you will be having perhaps, you know, you'll have something to say, I'm sure. I mean, how amazing would that be?
Oh, that gave me chill bumps. That would be amazing.
It would. I mean, it would also obviously be equally amazing to listen to the other 8, but I just mean,
of course,
understanding that some of those people around that table are absolutely going to be feeling something different. but do they feel safe enough to say it? And I think a lot of the time, I mean, I've been in situations like that and I've not dared open my mouth. So
100%.
yeah.
Several times for me as well.
Yeah.
I will say there have been times when I was hired as a consultant and it was for like a team building. And so there was already groundwork laid that I was there to help talk about what was going on. And so that did give me the permission to say, I hear what you're all saying, but honestly, I don't buy it. There's something else that you're not saying. And it was magical. Like it absolutely, like that is the real work in my opinion. I put that in quotes, but that's the kind of work that feeds my soul, is to actually talk about what's really going on.
Yes.
But to your point, there has to be an agreement that it's safe to do that here, that's what we're about in this space, that we're going to name the things that are true.
Yeah. And I remember once sitting around a table where all these men, as it happened to be, and I was the only woman sitting around the table, and they were all talking about this thing that they were all developing and how great it was going to be. And I was sitting there thinking, I think this is a load of rubbish. And I can't, not that it's a load of rubbish. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think anybody will pay for it because I don't really, but anyway, that is what I thought. And I actually said it. I did actually say, I can totally understand where you're coming from because it benefits you for this thing to be done. It would make, your business better, but I don't think you're seeing it from the point of view of the end user. And why would they pay for that? I just don't understand. If that was me, I wouldn't pay for it. And one of the bosses absolutely went, well, that's absolutely ridiculous. And why wouldn't people pay? And he just didn't understand that in his privileged position with the amount of money that he had and all that an extra £10 on something didn't seem very much. But I could see how that would make a difference. And anyway, they didn't like that. And I'd learned not to open my mouth again. But the thing that they were talking about never did come to anything in the end. I don't know whether that was anything I said, because they wouldn't ever admit that. But it was interesting.
But what a different experience it could have been if they had listened to what you were saying and kind of explored that more. Right? Yeah. And you raise a good, another one of our strengths, which is like, we are able to see how things affect people. Like we're able to kind of look at, okay, if this was brought into this system, or we're going to try this new thing, how it's going to affect people downstream. Like we're really able to put ourselves in other shoes and see what that experience would be like. And that is so valuable if people are willing to hear that, right?
It is. And, that's the essence of empathy, really, isn't it? And and I think a lot of the times, we can get carried away with ideas, not us as HSP. I think, maybe companies or whatever can get carried away with ideas without actually thinking about, I don't know, they can just get so caught up in the idea. And I remember in my HSP group that I went through the course with, where we met, we weren't in the same group, we've met since, anyway, that's beside the point. But there was a lady there who wasn't there to become she wasn't a coach. She wanted to use the skills that she had learned on the course, on the program, in her existing job. And she was absolutely brilliant at seeing how big high-level decisions, how they would come down and how they were going to affect people. She wasn't particularly popular when she raised these things, but but there was somebody in that company who saw how valuable what she was doing. And she said it's not always easy, because there are a lot of people who don't like what I've got to say, but I know that what I've got to say is really important. And then there's somebody very high up who actually can see what I'm about. So that's why it works. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, think about the time and money and effort saved by not just, going down this one pathway and not considering, what she's seeing. She's seeing this like, oh, wait a minute. This is a potential problem. Like, you could problem solve that ahead of time, right? You could make it better for the people at the end before you get there, and then find out, oh shoot, this isn't what we wanted at all, and now you've got to rejigger it, if you even have the time and money to do that at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think most of the time it actually applies to decisions that are made to affect employees, staff. Yes. It's, everything's always about profit. So it seems that as long as we're making more money, it doesn't, let's think about the money we're making first rather than the people. And actually, without the people, you're not going to be doing anything. So why companies, I know some are getting better, but why companies don't look after their staff better, I don't know. I mean, I'm a qualified lawyer. I don't actually practice the law anymore, but the law firms I've worked in over the years have never been great at looking after their staff. And I believe a lot of what they do now is pretty much lip service. It's not real, like, it's about, I once got told that I care too much. And it's like, okay, but actually you need one person who cares, when everybody else, okay, so I was talking about a small thing here, but if everybody else is focused on the bottom line, you do need somebody who cares about the people who are involved. I think you do anyway.
Yes. I mean, Philippa, you've hit one of my hot buttons. Yes.
Oh, have I?
Yes.
Woo, we'll have to have a button. We'll have to have an actual button.
We'll have to have a whole,
yeah. Goes, woo, 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 woo.
I mean, yes, I won't get on my soapbox. Maybe we can devote another episode to digging in a little bit more, but the idea that companies are putting profit above people and how damaging that is to individuals, but also to society, to families. Like it's a cascading effect. It really is.
To the planet as well.
Yes.
And as HSPs, we feel a lot of this really deeply. We feel the climate crisis, and we feel, maybe to different degrees, but I'm so like, what on earth can I do about it? I just, really don't know. But I'm sure there are some HSPs who are feeling it even more deeply than I am. I'm sure we all have our own area of fascination, our own area of real interest. And, I am devastated about what is happening to the planet, but also that is not my zone of genius either. So, but it does affect me.
Absolutely. Affects all of us.
Of course it does.
And to your point, when you're told at work you're too sensitive, which is something that I have definitely heard multiple times. I think it's, again, not unique to us, but it's like, pick that apart a second. It's just like, caring about people is not a weakness. People are the things that are running everything.
Yeah.
Right? If the people aren't healthy, then the systems aren't going to be healthy. And, we need people who are caring about the people. We need people who are sensitive, who can pick up on what is going wrong.
Yeah.
I've said to you before, we're the canaries in the coal mine. Like, we, as highly sensitive people, we can pick up on something that is amiss before other people can. And eventually it gets to a point where then lots of people then are also saying, hey, there's something wrong here. So it's not like we can pick up things and no one else can, but we're an early warning system, right? So if you listen to us earlier on, we can make change sooner.
Yeah. I remember going to a law firm, to an old boss of mine, and asking for his feedback on whether if I wanted to go into law firms and help them look after their staff better, because I had this real desire to do that. And I said, but how does that land with you? I just wanted to use him as a sounding board. And he was really great. And he said, Philippa, he said, I think you're really onto something here, but we're just not ready for that. And then a year later the pandemic hit, and now everything's in a right old mess. So I'm not claiming to be some amazing visionary, but actually there have been quite a few times through my life where I've thought, oh, either that's a really good idea or that's a really bad idea, or this would be really good to happen, or whatever. And it turns out a year or so later, either it's been adopted or it's been not, or do you know, it's like, oh, maybe
Absolutely.
I should, why didn't I say something?
Yes, I had a lot of those moments. Why didn't I say something? But why
Yes.
why didn't we say something?
Well, there you go then. So that comes back to safety, doesn't it?
That's right. That's exactly right.
It comes back to safety, and also some of the things that I'm talking about. It also comes back to owning my worth, which I didn't at that time, and owning my worth has come from quite a few things that have happened in the last 6 years. One of which, though, is really discovering I'm an HSP, and now a couple of years later, I'm ready to really step into this arena with you. That's what I'm doing now, and really talking about it, because it's really important.
Yes.
Agree. Yeah. So owning our true self is the start of, for me anyway, a whole different way of life, and you know that for you too. I wish more children could be brought up owning their, being allowed, being nurtured to own their true self.
Yes. And not just their highly sensitive self, but all children being nurtured to be their true self. It's a dream of mine in the world, honestly, that all people really were in touch with who they were and were being that in the world, because the world would look different. We would have different systems. The world would work for people, and it would work for the planet. It just would.
It would. And I know, you know, that's a very, you know, I'm sure, you know, if there's anybody listening to going, oh yeah, well, that's really simplistic, and who are they to be going on about that? Well, you know, we can dream, we can have that a dream, we can have that desire. And yes, it might be quite simplistic, but actually, why do things have to be complicated all the time? And let's not overcomplicate them and make them into something, oh, you know, only a few people can understand. I don't know. I'm beginning to think that everything is just smoke and mirrors, and actually it just all boils down to quite simple humanity and being good and kind, and you know, but then I know, anyway, it's complicated. What else is on your list before I start going off on all these?
We both have our soapboxes, don't we? Yes.
Humor was on the list.
Yes.
I read that somewhere. I found a blog post that was talking about HSPs having humor. I mean, obviously, I would say that HSPs are the funniest people in the world, but it did say that we can be quite quirky and quite, what did I say, quirky and nerdy, and but actually quite funny with it. And I love the word quirky. I like to use the word quirky in relation to myself. So we're quirky and funny, apparently.
Yeah, we are.
Or funny in our quirkiness, maybe.
Yeah.
As opposed to our HSP-ness.
It's funny because there are times when I'm intentionally funny and I'm like, you know, really proud of my humor. And then there are equally a number of times where I'm just walking around in the world being myself, and my wife will just die laughing. And she's like, "You're hilarious." And I'll be like, "I am?"
Yeah. It's like, oh, just being me. That happens to me as well, and it's just like, okay, well, whatever.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Exactly. We're just spreading joy wherever we go.
Exactly. Well, we try.
Yeah.
On our good days.
Absolutely, we do try. One of the other things on our list was that people feel safe to share things with us.
Yes. I've already I already touched on that, didn't I? That people with clients have said that to me, and I'm sure you've had it, where clients have said to you, "I've never told anybody this before," and they then tell you things.
100%. And it would happen to me in life before I was a coach. Like, people would be in conversation with me and then say, "Wow, I don't know why I just told you that."
Yes.
And, you know, then when I became a coach, I would hear from my clients, "Oh, it feels so safe here with you." You know, we were talking about psychological safety before. Like, I think we create a really safe place for people. Yeah. Then it was one of my clients who said, "You know, I can always just say the truth here." And I took that as such a compliment. Like she could just say whatever was true for her. She didn't have to hide anything. She didn't have to put on any masks. She didn't have to pretend. She could just say what's true, and she knew it was safe. And I think that's a giant gift we give to the world.
Absolutely. I mean, what's better than that?
Right.
You know, that people feel safe with us to share those innermost tender parts of them that they've never been able to share with anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I was asking a client for some feedback on what that was, and she said to me, a massive part of that is a lack of judgment. Like she didn't feel judged by me at all. And you know, I joke and I say to I say to clients, you know, don't worry, I'm from Wigan, and if you know, that's not going to mean anything to the audience outside the UK, but that's quite a tough mining, old in the old days mining town up in the north of England, and you know, we're all pretty tough and you know whatever, and I say I'm from Wigan, you can't shock me, I've seen it all, you know. Just say whatever, you know, and that sort of, you know, normally breaks the ice, and you know, but I think that's a great privilege to be the confidant of people who, for things that they really need to say, they really need to say out loud. To I'm a great believer in talking about things out loud, because it releases the pressure around it. It almost like say it out loud and it can go then.
That's right. Yeah. Some of it dissipates.
Yes.
Because you've released it, like you said.
And you've said it and the world hasn't fallen apart.
That's
and
right.
I haven't screamed in horror and gone, oh, I can't possibly, you know, and
nothing terrible happened.
No. And then, you know, that there is a real release that comes from that at times. And, you know, if that's been blocking something, then we can sort of move on. You know, it works, and it just is magic sometimes.
It absolutely is. And connecting to people that deeply, which is, again, one of the things that we're great at as HSPs, that is the thing that fuels me. Like really being able to heart connect with someone, you know. A lot of the connections out in the world are really high and surface level. How's the weather, you know? That kind of stuff makes my skin crawl, honestly. If I have to do it for extended period of time. Obviously, I don't want to go up to every new stranger and just dive right into the deep stuff.
Tell me what's hurting your heart today.
Right. But
or what's in your heart.
But really having a conversation that's meaty and meaningful, where I really get to know the person, where they know they're safe, where I'm not over here judging them, but I just really get to know them.
Yes.
It's so uplifting for me. It's fueling. I love that.
Me too. And it reminds me of a saying that I hear quite a lot, and we're very good at this. We're very good at listening to understand. We're not listening to respond. And that's the difference. You know, I think we use our head. If we are in our head while we're listening to somebody, and while they are speaking, we are busy trying to work out how we're going to respond, then we're not making that connection with them. We're missing that opportunity to just really listen and connect, like you just talked, connect, heart to heart connection, and just like, oh God, you know, that sounds really, really hard, or you know, oh God, or how hilarious, or oh my God, you did what, or whatever, but you've really been absorbed in what they're saying, so you're in it with them.
And
that you know, I wouldn't want to be missing that either.
Right. It's so rich. Which is why, another thing on the list, why we're such great friends. HSPs have really deep friendships with folks. So we are often not the ones that have 35 friends, but we'll have a lesser number of very deep connections, typically.
And that makes sense, doesn't it? What else is on the list, or have we done it?
No, there's more. There's Creativity was one
Oh,
that we wanted to hit on. Yeah,
yes.
because it's kind of a big bubble. There's our own creativity. Like we can be very um, out of the box thinkers. We're very in tune with letting things flow. And so HSPs can be creative in all kinds of different ways.
Mm.
But then something that you mentioned that I'd love you to talk more about is also how we interact with others' creativity. You had something really cool to say about that.
Yeah. And you know, I think the temptation when we talk about, well, the minute you mention the word creativity, I mean, certainly I would have usually gone to, oh, somebody who's painting or drawing, whereas creativity is just being is thinking about things slightly differently or bringing
Yes.
a different way into, so you know, you can be thinking creatively and behaving creatively at work by problem
That's right.
solving, you know, or I don't know, running out of ideas, but you know, creativity is much wider than just painting and drawing.
100%.
And you know, I've discovered as part of discovering I'm an HSP and all those things at the same time, I rediscovered my love of writing, and that's been a really great gift to me. And every now and again, I just feel drawn to write a poem. It's weird. It just sort of spills out of me in about 10 minutes. I mean, they're not amazing poems, for God's sake, but they just come. It's just
Yeah.
really interesting. But I think what I said is
Beautiful.
not only does, you know, creativity is something that comes quite naturally to us in the big wider sense of being creative. Uh,
Yes.
and we get to really like rejoice in other people's creativity as well. I think we can really be with them in their creativity and appreciate it, you know, even if we don't like whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah.
But we can appreciate it for what it is, if that makes sense. And we can
Yeah.
really be moved by, I mean, and here I suppose I'm talking more about the traditional sort of things we might think of as creativity, but you know, you know, really luxuriating in a painting maybe, and going, wow, and
Yes.
look at those colors and look at the way you've done that, and I, you know, really appreciate the way that you've put that together, or something, or that really speaks to
Yes.
me, and this is what I'm getting from it. And you know, we can bring all these details to the attention of other people as well, so
Yes.
they can step more into the finer details.
That's
So
exactly right.
not only do we appreciate it, we can show the person who's created it that we really appreciate it, and actually maybe we can help other people appreciate it, be that music, be it dance, be
Yes.
it, you know, song, be it a poem, be it a story, be it a
Yes.
painting, a drawing, whatever it is, be it a creative
Yes.
solution. Although maybe,
That's right.
you know, maybe you have to work a bit harder to get everybody on board to really appreciate the creativity of this solution. But you know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that those details that we notice, that then I love what you said, that then we can also help other people notice. So
Mm,
because we see the world a little bit differently, we take in more things, we notice the little details that other people miss. Us talking about them highlights them for folks who didn't see them to begin with. And I
yeah.
love that. I think that's a great gift we give to the world.
Yeah. I think it is as well. Um, yeah. There are so many.
There's so many. I think we've touched on quite a few.
I think we have. Um, and I'm hoping that, you know, listening to this, any HSPs or people who know HSPs, and you know, are really beginning to understand that this is something brilliant.
Yeah.
It's something, it's not something to be frightened about, it's not something to shy away from. Being an HSP, I'm talking about, you know, it's not something to shy away from, it's not something to want to hide and, you know, feel like you don't want people to know. I mean,
Right.
you might not want people to know straight away, but really I'm hoping that we're doing a good job at showing you all the beauty and the gifts that come with being an HSP.
Yes. Yes. And we're needed in the world.
We're
needed.
We are needed. We have an awful lot to offer.
Yes.
If only it could be appreciated.
Yes.
But,
and so we're starting here. We're starting the appreciation here.
We are. And, please let us have your, what's landed for you if you're listening to this. What's really landed for you if you're an HSP, or landed for you about somebody else maybe in your life? What are you getting from this that's really, I don't know, helping you see the gift that it is? I would really love to know that. I'm sure Robbie would really love to know that. So
yeah, I would. And what did we miss? What is a big gift that we didn't mention?
Yeah,
I'd love to hear those.
We would. That's the homework for this week. If you're listening, especially if you're an HSP, what did we miss? Yes. Let's collate that, and we can add that to the list that we've already got.
Beautiful.
Marvelous. I think we'll leave that here for today. We will be back with another episode soon. But in the meantime, take really good care of yourselves. Thank you for listening, and it's bye from me.
Bye from me.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website, www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.